delicately at the meat in the bowl. I laughed and looked back at my mother. If we're set up by 3, that should be plenty of time, right? Yes, I told Mrs. Cullis not to arrive before 3:45. My mother looked serene, as always, in the domain of her kitchen, the largest and nicest room in her little house. We had set up at the long center island my father had built for this purpose, and the September sun shone on the array of teacups on the shining white surface. Soon we would transport the tea set to Maggie's tea house, a business my mother and grandmother had established, and which I co-ran. Mrs. Cullis is kind of a lot to handle, I said, although she's not much different from Grandma in that respect. My grandmother, who had superhuman hearing, floated in on the scent of Odyssey, her favorite Avon perfume. What did you say about Mrs. Cullis? She picked up a teacup and began to polish it with the edge of her sleeve. My mother sent me a subtle but urgent glance. I said, "Oh, just that she's getting there about 15 minutes early, and we want to be sure everything is all set. This isn't just a regular event, right? It's high tea for her Magyar women group, so we want things to be just perfect." She looked mildly suspicious, but then she nodded, tucking a bit of gray hair behind her ear. The errant strand had escaped from the bun at the nape of her neck. She wore our tea house uniform with a black sweater and some sparkling earrings. Although she'd been in America for almost 40 years, my grandmother still clung to some traditions from her youth, and one was her preference for vintage jewelry, including the cruel clip-on earrings that invariably left her in pain after a fancy tea event. "Yeah, I will go early, make sure the floors was done properly." "We're done, Mama," my mother corrected. She, too, was an immigrant, but had been only 12 when they left Hungary, and she had mastered American grammar and intonation with a child's resiliency. She didn't always like her mother's lingering accent, or her refusal to adhere sometimes to American usage. My mother was convinced that Grandma knew exactly how to say things, but merely refused. My grandmother shrugged. "Yeah, yes. I don't trust that cleaning crew." She turned to me. "Sit up straight, Haniska." I had thought I was sitting up straight. My parents had always been sticklers about posture. Sometimes Grandma just said things on autopilot because she felt it was her job as matriarch. These comments included her feelings about my posture, my hair, my makeup, or what she considered swearing. These were especially reserved for my brother, Domo. My mother said, "Are you reading tea leaves today, Mama? The ladies always like that. Why don't you set up your table, and we'll do it after Mrs. Cullis's raffle?" Grandma shrugged. She loved the whole theatrical event that reading tea leaves had become for her, but she always wanted to be coaxed into it. "I suppose," she said, "if they want. Mama would do it better." At the mention of her, we turned toward the picture of my great-grandmother on the sideboard. She looked, in the photograph, just as I remembered her from childhood. Sweet, smiling, wearing her favorite green sweater and sitting in a lawn chair under the large elm in our backyard. My favorite memory of her, distant and lovely with the fog of time, involved me at 5 or 6, standing next to her knee beneath that same tree while she showed me a monarch that had landed on her veined hand. I leaned forward. "The ladies love it when you do it. Even the American guests like it when you read the tea leaves. Everyone likes to think they can get a glimpse into the future, and it's free, which they like even better," I said. She moved closer to me to examine my hair, as she had done throughout her life. I knew that she was secretly fascinated by my hair, but she pretended to be critical of it. When I was a child, I had overheard her telling my mother what a remarkable shade of reddish-brown it was, how thick and glossy. "Like the color of autumn," she had enthused. "Prettier even than mine used to be." I had been surprised and pleased at the time, having never thought much about my hair at the age of 8 or 9. As I grew up, though, I remembered her words and developed a special pride in my auburn tresses. "Do I see split ends?" my grandmother asked, pretending to study the lock in her hand. My mother sniffed. "No, you do not. Why do you obsess over..."